My name is Christian Bowen. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction in the Valley Stream Central High School District. Very glad that you're able to join us today for our fourth Summer Bridge webinar. If you were unable to attend any of our previous forums, I ask that you visit the website and click on the Summer Bridge link on the bottom right, where we have all of our recorded webinars from previous forums, as well as our weekly newsletter available. Today's webinar is transitioning from elementary school to middle school. We have a panel of staff members from multiple buildings who have worked together to help you. Today we have Miss Abate, health and phys ed teacher from North. Miss Alimo, music teacher from Memorial. Miss Grant, social worker from South. Miss Paridi, school counselor from North. And Miss Whitney Rivera, district director of guidance. Thank you all. So those of you that have not attended a forum, this is a webinar, so our presenters will speak to you. You will see their faces, you will see the presentation, but they cannot see or hear you. We have, however, enabled the chat feature, so if you do have any questions, please communicate them through that chat feature. All of the panelists will receive that message and we will work to answer your questions during the presentation, and if not, at the end of the presentation. We appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in our schools very soon. It's right around the bend. At this point in time, I'd like to hand it off to Ms. Paridi. I want to thank you again, students, for being here today, and thank you to the panelists for presenting. All right, be well. Thank you.
Good morning, class of 2026. As Mr. Bowen had indicated, I'm one of the school counselors at Valley Stream North. My name is Mrs. Paridi. And we do, and my coworkers and I that are on this panel today, we want to share with you some of the questions or concerns that might be running through your head right now as the first day of school is approaching in the next few weeks. As you know, next week, we'll begin our orientation programs at all of the buildings. And I know that we've invited all the students to attend those meetings. So whether you're going to be hybrid or remote, we want to give you some tips that are going to give you a smooth transition from elementary school to middle school. We do understand that it can be exciting and at the same time a little nerve-wracking. So we do believe in working with students of your age group for many years, that we feel that your organizational skills are the most important skills needed for success in middle school. So we will give you in the future slides some tips of how to keep yourself organized. Also, we believe you've taken responsibility and your growth and maturity is going to help in this process as well. So we look forward to any questions or concerns you have in the chat box throughout this presentation. We'll address any questions or concerns you have at the end. So I'm going to pass now the presentation to Miss Grant, who will talk about the tips for success.
Hi guys, good morning. I'm so happy that you guys joined us today. I feel like that's a step in a great direction, that you're joining us and that you're interested in your education and learning about what the transition is going to be like. So welcome to everybody. I am Miss Grant. I'm over at South High School. I'm the school social worker there. We were just talking a little bit about your organizational skills, which are going to be key as far as you being able to make that transition as successful as possible. So one of the things that we spoke about together when we were coming up with this presentation is the idea of creating a positive workspace for yourself. It doesn't have to be a large space. You don't have to have, you know, this huge room that you're working out of or even a desk necessarily. But we would say that to try to find some type of a flat surface to work on. If it's a desk, that's great. If it's a kitchen table, that's fine. Just something that you can write on that's not going to necessarily be in your bed where things are getting moved around or not able to be as neat or as organized as maybe you would like. So flat workspace would be great. Sitting in a comfortable chair also, you know, you're going to be working a lot, whether you're working on the hybrid schedule or whether or not you are working completely remotely from home right now, you're going to be sitting for quite some time in front of computer screens. So we want you to be comfortable and in a chair that works for you. Also, along those same lines, we want you to have a space that has good lighting. We don't want you to be struggling to see a screen. A lot of us are spending more time right now on computers than we ever have. So having that good lighting will be good for you to be able to see what you're doing and to be able to not have to strain your eyes. I've heard some students tell me they've gotten some headaches. So that's one of the things that we want to remember is just having good lighting and being in a comfortable environment for yourself. Also, having your supplies on need that you are going to be working with is going to be something that we would encourage. So if you need pens, pencils, a calculator, some calculators need to be charged nowadays. So having that kind of a workstation where you have the chargers available, where you have your supplies available, so that once you finally get going with your work, you don't want to be scrambling to try to find things that you may need. So trying to keep that in an area all to itself would be helpful. Also having a water bottle on hand, having a snack on hand, so that again, if you get hungry while you're working, you don't want that to distract you. As far as distraction free, I know I'm guilty of it too, that when my cell phone goes off and it chimes, I'm tempted, I want to look at it. So one of the things that we would talk to you about is the idea of putting it on mute, putting it on silence when you're working, so that you're not distracted by it just going off. Because obviously if friends are having a conversation or somebody's trying to get in touch with you at the moment, it's really tempting to kind of look at the phone and to engage in that and to forget what you're doing or what you're working on. So we would say create a time for yourself where it's distraction free with no cell phone, or if the cell phone is out, put it on silence for yourself. And also schedule in those breaks for yourself so that you're not working all hours of the day with no breaks, with no stoppage time. You need to be able to have some downtime as well. So that's going to be useful for you. As far as the time management goes, we would encourage everybody to wake up at the same time every day. So again, whether you're hybrid or whether you're going to be doing distance learning from home, we want you to be able to wake up at the same time every day. We don't want certain days that you're home for you to be waking up at 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, because unfortunately your teachers are only going to be available during the school day, and your parents as well, if they're working, if they're home. You want to be able to create that routine for yourself so that if you do need help getting online, if you're having trouble with the internet, or if you have a question from a teacher, that you'll be able to have access to them during the school hours. So getting up, ready, fresh for the day, ready, set, go is what we're talking about. Waking up, brushing your teeth, eating breakfast, keeping that routine the same each day will help you to stay organized and help you to be able to prioritize the work that you need to get done that day. Once the day is over, we also want you to end the day. We don't want school going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know the transition was not the easiest in the spring. We all kind of got thrown into it, and it's been a little bit crazy. Even for myself, I was working at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night answering questions, and at some point I had to shut it down also. And we encourage you to do that. The afternoons are still beautiful come September. Going out for bike rides with friends, enjoying your time when it's the off time is going to be just as important as your schoolwork, to be able to take those breaks and relax for yourself.
So in regards to staying organized and leaving yourself plenty of time to get your work done, I want to talk about the sample agenda book that we put up here. So one difference from elementary school is that in each of your schools, whether you're in South, Memorial, or North, you will be getting an agenda book, and it'll be themed for your school colors, your school mascots. But really what it is a way for you to stay organized, especially with the challenges that this year brings, trying to keep track of what schedule day it is, or keeping track of what assignments you have and for when. Let's take a look at this agenda book right here. So I bolded some things that have due dates. So I have math test on Tuesday, science lab due Thursday, English paper due Friday. So those are pretty major assignments that you would have as a typical middle school student. So we don't want to leave these things to the last minute, because that'll just make you stressed out, and that won't lead you to the success that you would want starting out in a brand new school. So if you look at Sunday, because I did include the weekends, because you should be doing work on the weekends, I had study for math test and outline English paper. You definitely won't be doing your best paper at all if you're leaving until 9 p.m. on Thursday night. So that's why I said, just outline it, keep it in your head, but maybe study or take care of those things that are due a little bit sooner. Maybe once that math test is done, you can continue that English paper, you can finish that science lab, and just as you progress, just trying to stay on track. I'm not going to go through each and everything on here, but just to give you the idea of keeping track and maybe planning out week by week what you have done will definitely keep you organized, and it'll keep you a lot less stressed knowing what you have coming up. Another difference from elementary school is that you will be having different teachers for different classes, all of your classes actually. And with different teachers comes different expectations. So that means that your English teacher may have a different set of class rules than your social studies teacher or than your math teacher, which might just take some getting used to. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but it's just something that you would need to adjust to that you maybe didn't have to last year. You might find that you learn better from certain teachers' teaching styles rather than others, and that might require communication with you and the teacher you may be struggling with so that you can have them help you. Okay, so as a classroom teacher myself, I know some students work better one way and some students work better another way. Whether that's how I teach or not, it just requires a little bit more communication. So definitely keeping that in mind as you go through your schedule for the day. Another difference from elementary school is that we will be using a lot more technology. No matter what building you're in, you'll be using Microsoft Teams to stay on top of your classes or your assignments or PowerPoint. So not to worry, you will have a full introduction on Teams before you need to use it. It's rather simple to use. If you have used it before, that's great. If not, no worries. But it's what your teachers will be using, especially since now we have the hybrid model, whether you are fully remote or you're only partially remote, it will be very important to use in every facet of education. So if you would like to get familiarized with Teams, before you get the ins and outs of it, there is a YouTube channel for the Valley Stream Central High School District. And I did link it there. I'm not going to pull it up, so you can do that on your own time. But there's tons of awesome videos on how to access your email, because we do use Outlook. That is part of Microsoft. How to log into your email address, send an attachment, just maneuvering yourself around Teams so that you are familiar and you don't get too overwhelmed when the school year does begin.
So along the same lines of technology, we just want to remind you that there is a responsibility that comes along with all the wonderful technology that we have. Microsoft Teams is not a social media platform, so it's not something that you should be messaging friends and having private conversations. You know, we want to keep all the language that we're using appropriate. It's the same as if we were using something in class. So keep that in mind. So whether you're home or whether you're in school, that there's a responsibility and a certain level of etiquette that comes along with that technology. We will be talking a lot more with you guys as 7th and 8th graders as the years go on about social media responsibility, etiquette, the expectations that we have, so that, you know, that's something that we want you to take ownership of and full responsibility for. I always use that famous line, with great power comes great responsibility, so that as wonderful as the internet is, we want you to stay safe on it and keep in mind that it is your responsibility as far as the material that you're sharing, and we want to keep that as appropriate as we can. Also, through eSchool, you will have a student portal where you can access information for yourself as far as your grades and assignments, and as your parents will also have access to a parent portal through eSchool.
Hi. As I indicated in my previous slide, all of you have already been invited for the in-person orientation, so we look forward to seeing everyone at that time. Also, I just wanted to mention that is the time when the computer device will be distributed to each and every one of you. Also at that orientation, you'll be using a school ID, which we'll be taking a picture of, and that school ID needs to be with you at all times. That is going to be something you scan in each morning entering the building. Anytime you leave the building and come back in, you have to rescan back in. So it's an important tool to use. Also, it'll be something used, as it will be talked about in the future slides, when you're purchasing lunch. And that also, at that orientation, you'll get to meet the school counselor. Now, as I indicated, I'm from North. I'm one of the school counselors there, but you'll be meeting the rest of the school counselors at North, as well as the respective counselors at Memorial and South. So some of you, depending on which district you attended elementary school, you had a school counselor. For those of you who did not have a school counselor, I just want to introduce my role to all of you. So it's a new person to really support any questions or concerns you have. So we look at ourselves as being the go-to person. So if you have any questions that is in regards to academics, or any questions about friends or things that are happening at home, we're the go-to person to go to. I've had students come visit me and ask me about when an activity begins, or how to join an activity, how to study for an exam. So we give you some tips in the questions that you have. When we feel that additional support is needed, depending on your concern, we then have additional support staff to assist us. And that would be the school psychologist or the school social worker that are also in the building. So depending on what concerns you present to us, we can also introduce you to the additional support staff. So the acronym PPS stands for Pupil Personnel Staff or Services. And we are the ones that are going to guide you through any of these social emotional concerns or academic concerns that come your way in the months that come or in the years that come. So we look forward to working with each and every one of you. Also, we talked about the importance, we can go to the next slide, of the success and how important it is to really have a plan and to be organized. So as Ms. Abadi had shown you the agenda book. So each and every one of you are going to get that most likely the first day of hybrid, or for those of you who are complete remote, will be able to get that to you as well. And that agenda book really is your key point of keeping yourself organized. And as Ms. Grant indicated, having a routine of when you wake up and each day. So you're not getting confused if you're doing the hybrid model of when you're coming in and when you're remote. And for those of you who are remote, you want to be able to log on because, as was indicated, each of your teachers will be live. So depending on when your class will be, if let's say at 7:50 begins a math class, whether you're hybrid or in person, or you are at home, remote learning, you will be turning on your computer to start learning your lesson. So it's important. So what we ask you to look at these steps. So some of the steps that we noticed that are successful and children have used are: plan your time, make a schedule for the day and stick to it. Keep on top of your calendar and your deadlines, just like Ms. Abadi showed you on the agenda book. Check on Teams regularly and use the alerts so you know if any assignments have been posted. Before you submit your work, make sure it's correct. Make sure it's what the teacher asked for, and make sure when you send it in that it actually got posted. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There's always someone that you could reach out to and ask for help. And if you're not sure who to go to, you can always reach out to your school counselor. We'll always be there to support you. Our school year for the school counselors will begin for all of us in all the buildings on Monday, August 24th. So we will be there in the buildings to assist you in any questions or concerns you have.
So some of you probably are wondering whether or not you're going to be able to get lunch in school. And the answer is yes. And once you get your ID card with your ID number and everything on it, it'll work as a debit card for lunch. So we use a system called My School Bucks, and the link to sign up is on the Valley Stream website. And again, when you go to your orientation and meet with your counselors, they will show you exactly how to sign up using your ID number when you get your schedule. My School Bucks is a tool that we use to pay for lunch. So you can put money on there and track your lunch purchases, track the balance online, get an email reminder for a low balance. Your parents can load it up so that you always have money with you when you come in so that you can eat, because that's the most important part of the day. And we also use it for things like your school instrument. So many of you are wondering whether or not you're going to get your very own musical instrument in school, and the answer is yes. And there's a small fee that goes with it, and we can pay for it on My School Bucks, and your music teachers will help you out with that. Same with your math teachers and your calculators, also paid for on My School Bucks. Any kind of t-shirt purchases for different clubs, fundraisers, and hopefully sometime soon in the near future, we can start going on field trips again. Cash is accepted at lunch if you don't have any money left on your card. We really, with social distancing, really highly recommend getting that card loaded up as soon as you figure out how to sign up for My School Bucks. And it's a really great tool that we use every day so that you don't have to worry about money. Now, being well-rounded, a lot of you are wondering, how can I get involved, especially if I'm working remote or if we're hybrid and half the week we're in school and half the week we're not in school. Well, there's plenty of activities that you can do remote. A lot of our clubs are going live online this year. One of the many things that you can find in Teams are all the forums. So, for instance, in Memorial, we had a book club. We had a movie appreciation club. Student council was online. The honor societies went online. Sometimes there are just chats online with teachers and students to talk about favorite sports, favorite movies, favorite books. Make sure that you get some outdoor activity as well. And you can even practice your musical instrument, and you can practice your singing, you can practice your artwork. Stay well-rounded. Don't just get so bogged down and focused on trying to get the work done all the time. Make sure you give your brain a creative rest. If you don't see an activity that you like in Teams, remember, you can always start a discussion group. Just let your counselor know, your teacher know, even your principals know. Don't be afraid to speak up. We'll start a group for you. Anything that you feel like you want to get involved in, we can make it happen.
And just remember, guys, for the class of 2026, we are so excited to have you guys coming into us. And we want to remind you that your attitude and effort will get you everywhere in this world. So having a good attitude, putting in the effort will help you to be successful, not only in transitioning, but in everything that you do. We can't wait to see you guys. And you know, we're so excited to finally get back to school. And certainly, if you have any questions, anything comes up, we are all here for you to make this transition as smooth as possible. We're so excited that you attended today and can't wait to meet you all in person.